when you work with children, you introduce them to the real world. And when they go home and talk to their parents, they'll come in and say, "You're making it impossible for my kid to learn. My kid is attacking me and my beliefs." If you brought up kids saying they would walk out of their home, knowing their parents were boondoggled. Do you understand what I mean? You're taking a hell of a chance. But if you want to bring up kids better, you try to introduce the world of science where you check things out. Teach them to check things out. And if they don't know how to check things out, read up on the scientific method. Like if we figured through math that an airplane wing can support 20 pounds per square foot. Did you know this? When the plane is finished, we pile sandbags on the wing till it breaks off to see if it supports 20 pounds per square foot. I love that system. And then when the airplane is finished, we pull it 30 feet off the ground and cut the string that holds it to see if the landing gear holds up. Our calculations are one thing, checking it out is a second thing. And that's the only method that I love. All other methods you can call bullshit. Don't use those words in school.
No, we have you on film. Yeah, don't use those words with the kids. So it's critical thinking skills, teaching that.
Yeah.
Well, then if you want to use the word critical thinking, we'll give them an example of what to do to check things out. Like, is this glass breakthrough? You drop it from 30 feet, 40 feet, and say at 55 feet, it shatters. Or it doesn't, whatever it is that you find out. And you say, I've never tested it in heat. Under 400 degrees, it'll flatten out and melt down to the ground if you heat that up. But how do you know that? You did it. But you only accept things that are verifiable. You say, this is the greatest country in the world. In what area? France supports the arts, so does Russia. We don't support the arts as much as Russia or France. So in supporting of the arts, Russia and France are ahead. So when a person says this greatest country in the world, you say, in what area? Well, my parents are wonderful. In what area? You know what that means? So when I met Einstein, I said to him, do you believe in God? And he said, which one? And then I said, well, do you believe in truth? At that time, I believed in truth. He said, what do you mean by truth? That certain things are a certain way. And he said, like what? He kept pinning me down. I said, well, something I said, this is smooth or something. He said, you really believe this is smooth, don't you? I said, yes, I do. It looks smooth to me. So I put it under a microscope and it looked like that. So I said, is that what it's really like? I wanted to answer that in a different way. My kid came over to me when he was about 6. He said, Daddy, what makes an airplane fly? Is it the propeller? I said, if the engine doesn't turn the propeller, it won't turn. He said, is it the engine? No, if you don't put fuel in that engine, it won't turn. Is it the fuel? If there's no oxygen, the fuel won't burn. He said, what makes it fly? Many interacting variables. Do you understand those words? There's no, what made him a criminal? That made him a criminal. Oh, this. That's all nonsense. Many things work on a person. Their background, their family, whether the husband and wife argue a lot, or whether the husband beats the wife, all that. If your father beats your mother 3 times a day, you might grow up saying, boy, I'm never getting married. Because where you're coming from, that looks right. Where she's coming from, there was love and warmth in the home. So she said, marriage is a wonderful thing. Well, it all depends on where they're coming from. So you have to meet a person on their grounds if you want to change them. Where are they coming from? Mm-hmm. So Einstein and semantics made me aware of words and how different words, even the same words, have different meaning to different people. Good and bad, right and wrong, that's wrong. Nothing is wrong that's less effective for attaining a given goal. All that scientific progress points out is certain methods can achieve certain goals, but not right or wrong or good or bad. That's a value judgment.
Right.
Do you know what I mean by a value judgment? So if you want to teach kids in school, you better teach them according to school curriculum. Otherwise, they couldn't function in society. If you made them saner. Do you know what I mean by they can't function? They can't pass any test or examination. So I tried to write a movie years ago about 10 people that escaped this world. They go to the Amazon jungle during nuclear war. And they land, the plane lands all right, and the natives want to know how intelligent they are. They don't put it that way, so they say, what kind of an animal went by here? They say, went by where? They say, can't you see the way the grass is parted? Oh, yeah. Which way was the animal going? I don't know. Can't you see the twigs are broken in a given direction? What's the matter with you? Then they say, how big was the animal? I have no idea. Look at the hoof prints and how far apart they are. That tells you what the weight of the animal was. So after they give them intelligence tests, they say they are super ignorant, these people, in the civilized world. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. An intelligence test is strictly bullshit. What is intelligence is the ability to extract significance from any situation, and that takes special training. Do you understand what that means? Mm-hmm. Okay. So being a teacher is a tough job.
Well, how come some people have that intelligence to be able to extract significance, and they weren't taught that?
Very few people have that. And they don't even know what it means. They have to come at it many different ways. When I was a kid, women used to wear bathing suits with ruffles on them, all the way down to the ankle. And if you saw a girl's ankle, you had to loosen your collar. You know what I mean? Because the girls was all covered up in black bathing suit with a high neck. And so it was normal to want to know what's under that black ruffle system. But if people use the same washroom, boys and girls, when they're young, and swim nude when they're young, there'll be no peeping toms. You won't have the problem of fetishes. That's self-generated. This guy that killed a lot of people, the psychiatrists have no idea what the hell it is. Psychiatry doesn't know a fucking thing about human behavior. But I can't say that. Who the hell are you? Fresco? I never heard of you. So I'm trying to tell you, they don't understand what it is. Men fantasize. Like a guy says to another guy, your mother was a goddamn whore. So the guy is always bothered by people saying, wasn't your mother a whore? Yeah. So he tries to kidnap prostitutes and kill them. He nurtures that in his brain over a long period of time. So a serial killer makes all those connections over a long period of time due to being ridiculed for some person or not accepted. When you meet a person and say, the trouble with you is you're dumb, when you attack a person, they have no self-sufficiency. And they do things that the public considers negative. But they're made that way. Every person is made that way. The way it's hard to tell whether it's brain degeneration or brought up in an environment that gives you erroneous behavior. People like to know that a Filipino came up with the first airplane that was safe. Oh, was he Filipino? Great, that's wonderful. Like when I designed the prefabricated house, it was exhibited at Warner Brothers Studios. And a guy would look at me for a while and I said, "Dos Italiano?" I said, "Si, I'm Italian." He said, "Only an Italian can design a house like that." Another guy walked on, he said, "So they're Latin Yiddish?" Meaning, are you Jewish? Do you read? I said, "Yes." He said, "Only a Jew can design a house." I got that from everybody. So I know where people are at. And by the way, there's no such thing as a Jew or a Swede. Years ago, they believed in multiple gods. Somebody with a long white beard made a speech. Some people followed him. They were called Jews. Another guy with a short black beard made a speech. Some people followed him. They were called Christians. But there's no such thing as a product. You can't examine the body and find a Jew or a Christian or a Filipino. All these same kind of people were exposed to different exposures, and they come up with different values. Guy says, what is your racial background? Well, what the hell does that mean? It's something they could nab onto, lock onto. If you look like a Filipino, but you were brought up in Germany, you speak German just like a German. And when somebody could say, oh, the Liebe, you'd speak it and with an influence in things if you're brought up in that country. You know what I mean? And so when I went to Australia, they said, do you have special gifts? No, I don't. I just had a different exposure than most people. And once you're freed from a certain amount of bullshit, you can take on more.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.